Now, what do you do when there are three teams on a cricket field? All three teams are there to play, but there is two teams representing the same association. What and how do you explain that? You must be thinking this is hypothesis and I must be saying something at random right now, but that's not the case. This isn't hypothesis, this is something that actually happened, and it happened on day one of a Ranji match. There were three teams that had reached the Moin-ul-Haq Stadium in Bihar, and at that stadium you didn't know what to do because against Mumbai there were two teams representing Bihar that had reached the same morning to play the match. This isn't just about, or this doesn't just tell you about the state of affairs of Bihar Cricket Association, which has been talked about for years and years now as to how poor the administration is, but this just creates a situation of embarrassment for the board and for the players as well. The situation got escalated, in fact, to the extent that the police was involved. You needed the police to douse the whole situation. There was some skirmish as well. Some reports are suggesting there was a huge altercation that took place between the players, and not just the players. The board is also involved here. In fact, this whole confusion began because of the board members. A couple of the board members, namely the president and the secretary of the board. Now, what had happened over there was that when the squad was announced, or what the team was announced for this particular match between Mumbai and Bihar, the president announced one particular squad and the secretary announced another squad. Both those squads reached the stadium in the morning and they both wanted to play. Both ended up having a fight, so much so that the police had to then intervene and get the match started off after the situation was then taken care of. And it was the president's team that eventually played. The secretary's team did not play. Now, you must think that this is all down to confusion, but that's not the case. It also tells you about the politics happening behind the scene. It's the off-field issues that the Bihar Cricket Association has been plagued with, which have now been laid bare once again. The president hasn't been happy with the secretary for quite some time now. In fact, he also suspended the secretary some short while back. But the secretary says you can't do that because I am an elected official. You cannot go ahead and just sack me like that or suspend me like that. There was a BCA press release which was put out calling the other team a fake team. And all of this was happening because there are two factions in Bihar Cricket Association at the moment. One, of course, where the president enjoys his clout, and the other faction is the secretary faction. The players obviously in all of this were embarrassed and had ended up having that skirmish as well, that altercation that took place on the ground as well. Everyone was embarrassed as a result. Cricket was put to shame in a way because you don't want this to happen on a cricketing field, and especially it puts India in a bad spot, one can say, because on day one of your Ranji season, you don't want this to happen. It's a first-class competition, the highest level of first-class cricket, or domestic cricket that's played in the country. This causes huge embarrassment. Of course, there are questions to be asked about the Bihar Cricket Association and the way things are happening over there, but that's no way, and fights and no amount of fights can happen on a cricketing field. That's not the place for it. In fact, you don't take or condone any sort of violence anywhere. Violence has no place. There cannot be those scenes that panned out at the Bihar Cricket Association stadium over there. And this issue rather tells you about the fact that Bihar cricket needs serious intervention, and these issues need to be resolved because you cannot have this happen on day one of the Ranji match. As a result, what had happened was play got delayed and the match, which was supposed to begin early, only then started around 11 o'clock. Like I said, it's the president's team that played, but then this issue must be resolved going forward because you don't want an instance like this to take place again where players are engaging in a fight on the cricketing field, and this is no way that cricket can be officiated or the administration cannot be down to such levels where there are two teams then reaching a playground for a match. It cannot happen. It's very embarrassing, but it happened on day one of a Ranji game, and this issue calls for attention.